under a wide banyan tree as dusk settles into night, fireflies beginning to rise. Ashtavakra stretches his crooked limbs and settles against a thick root with a contented sigh. Nāgārjuna, every time we sit like this, I feel the same ease. No disciples waiting, no formal debate, just two friends watching the light fade. Tell me truly, when the mind grows completely still, what remains for you? Nāgārjuna brushes a leaf from his robe and smiles. What remains is the clear seeing that nothing ever stood alone. This body, these thoughts, the sense of I sitting here, all of them appear only because conditions are present. Remove the conditions and they vanish like mist at sunrise. That is emptiness, not a blank nothing, but the simple fact that nothing possesses its own independent, solid nature. Because nothing has that core, nothing needs to be grasped or defended. Even the idea of a lasting self or a lasting liberation leans on other things. When that is seen, the whole structure of anxiety softens. Ashtavakra traces a slow circle in the dust. I walk with you that far. The body is not me. The thoughts are not me. The shifting world is not me. Yet something knows all of it, quietly, steadily, without effort. That knowing does not come and go with the conditions. It is not born with the body and does not die with it. I call it the self, pure consciousness, the witness. You can take every object apart into emptiness, but the light by which you see that emptiness does not itself become empty. It is the openness in which emptiness appears. Nāgārjuna picks up a small stone and turns it slowly. Here the path begins to fork. You speak of a light that stands apart. I look closely and find that even the sense of standing apart depends on the objects it seems to light up. Without the play of forms, would there still be a distinct witness we can name and set on a throne? The moment we name it and declare it the final reality, the mind has already begun to lean on it. Whatever the mind leans on becomes another subtle clinging. That is why I say even emptiness is empty. If I turn emptiness into a new foundation, I have only exchanged one solid ground for another. The same danger lives in consciousness. The mind can quietly turn it into a refined identity. I am the pure eternal knower, and the old habits of separation continue in finer clothes. Ashtavakra chuckles, the sound warm. You sweep the floor until not even the broom remains. I respect that thoroughness. But watch what happens when every object is seen through. The sense of being a limited person simply falls away, and what remains is open, boundless knowing. It does not feel like a new concept or a new possession. It feels like coming home to what was never absent. The world still appears, trees, fireflies, your face, but it appears within that knowing, the way reflections appear in a mirror that the mirror itself never becomes. The mirror needs nothing, claims nothing, and is never proud of being a mirror. Nāgārjuna sets the stone down. The image is beautiful and has helped many. Still, the mirror metaphor can suggest something permanent and independent standing behind the play. The way I see it, the appearance and the knowing of the appearance are not two cleanly separable things. They arise together, lean on each other, and dissolve together. Conventionally, we speak of a person who sees and a world that is seen. That language is useful for living, for kindness, for guiding others. Ultimately, neither side has solid existence. That is the two truths. The conventional lets us move through the world without confusion. The ultimate shows that nothing was ever truly established. No separate seer, no separate seen, no knowing that owns the experience. freedom is not taking up residence as the eternal witness. It is the complete relaxation that comes when every possible foothold, including the foothold of I am the witness, has been seen through. Ashtavakra watches a firefly drift between them. You speak of relaxation, and I know it well. When the belief I am this body, this story, this limited one is simply dropped, an effortless ease appears. No more seeking, no more becoming. The seeking itself was the only bondage. There is no long ladder of practices that must be climbed first. The moment you recognize what you already are, the struggle ends. That is why I speak so directly. You are not the doer, not the enjoyer, not the sufferer. You are the awareness in which doing, enjoying, and suffering appear and disappear. Rest there, and ethics, compassion, and clear seeing flow by themselves. Nāgārjuna looks at him with quiet affection. That directness is a real gift. Many need to hear that the treasure is already in their hands. Yet I have watched how quickly the mind turns even the most direct teaching into a new identity. I am the pure witness. Others are still bound. Then subtle pride and subtle separation return, dressed in spiritual language. Emptiness works against that as well. When even the idea of being the liberated one is seen as empty, dependent on the idea of bondage, dependent on memory, dependent on the very words we use, then the last positioning falls away. What remains is not a special state belonging to someone special. It is simply the natural peace that does not depend on any view or any identity. Ashtavakra smiles, eyes half closed. We keep circling closer. You fear that affirming the self creates a new subtle self. I fear that refusing every affirmation can leave a trembling heart without a clear place to rest. Yet when I sit with your words, I notice the resting place was never a place or a thing. And when you sit with mine, perhaps you notice that the pure knowing I point to has no edges and nothing that can be grasped. Maybe the words are only fingers pointing at the same moon from different sides of the hill. Nāgārjuna laughs softly. Perhaps. Different languages, same release from the dream of solidity. I still prefer not to plant a final flag that says this is the ultimate. You prefer to plant the flag of consciousness so people have something luminous to turn toward. Both can free a heart. Both can become new chains if grasped too tightly. A soft footfall approaches through the grass. A figure in simple robes steps into the circle of light, pauses as if he has been listening, and sits down between them without ceremony. The Buddha rests his hands lightly on his knees and looks from one to the other with easy warmth. I was walking nearby and heard two friends speaking carefully of the moon. May I join you for a while? Ashtavakra brightens. Of course. The tree is wide enough for three. We were wondering whether the open space is best called pure consciousness or the emptiness of all fixed nature, and whether either name helps or hinders. Nāgārjuna inclines his head. Your presence is welcome. We have been turning the same jewel you once held up to the light. The Buddha smiles, unhurried. I see two careful hands still turning it. One points to the clear knowing that never comes or goes. The other points to the fact that nothing, knowing included, stands by its own power. Both hands are useful. Both can close into fists if one is not watchful. He lets the night sounds fill the pause, then continues gently. You have been speaking of the self. Let me add what I saw. People take the body, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, the five aggregates, and say, this is me, this is mine, this is myself. I looked closely and found none of them is permanent. None is under full control. None can rightly be claimed as I or mine. Form is not self. Feeling is not self. Perception is not self. Formations are not self. Consciousness is not self. When one sees this clearly, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself, the clinging that keeps the fever of becoming alive begins to cool. Ashtavakra leans forward, attentive. Blessed One, when the aggregates are seen as not self, what remains? Is there not still a pure knowing, untouched, that witnesses their arising and passing? The Buddha meets his eyes kindly. What remains is the ending of the fever itself, the coolness, the peace that does not depend on conditions being a certain way. If one then builds a new story, this luminous remainder is my true and permanent self. The fever can return in subtler form. The mind begins to protect that story, to compare itself with those who have not yet realized, to feel a quiet superiority or a quiet fear of losing it. I did not point to a hidden self behind the aggregates. I pointed to the aggregates themselves as not self, so that the heart no longer builds a home out of what is changing and unreliable. Nāgārjuna nods. That is close to what I have tried to protect. Even the sense of a witness arises dependently and is empty of inherent existence. To claim it as the final self is to plant a new flag the mind can cling to. The Buddha turns to him with the same warmth. Exactly. And emptiness itself must not become a new demand or a badge of understanding. The teaching is a raft, not a destination to carry on the head after the river is crossed. I taught not self so that clinging to any idea of self, coarse or refined, could end. I taught dependent arising so that the illusion of independent existence could end. I never asked anyone to construct a permanent self, nor to settle into a doctrine of pure nothingness. The point was always the ending of thirst. He looks up through the branches at the stars. Sit as you are sitting. Speak as you have been speaking, honestly without needing to win. Let the words rise and fall like the fireflies. When the need to settle the final name of the open space grows quiet, the open space is already here. Whether one calls it consciousness, emptiness, the unconditioned, or simply the end of suffering. The tree does not mind which word you choose, neither do I. What matters is that the hand that was clenched around a view of self begins to open. A deeper silence settles among the three. After a time, the Buddha speaks again, almost as an afterthought. The night is kind. Stay as long as you like. When you rise, rise without carrying the conversation as a burden or a trophy. Let it dissolve the way the fireflies dissolve into the dark. That is enough. That has always been enough. Ashtavakra and Nāgārjuna exchange a quiet glance of understanding. No further argument is needed. The three remain under the banyan in shared stillness, differences in language resting lightly, like leaves already fallen and no longer held. The conversation continues without words, each simply present in the open night.